Looking up at the vast skyline in the middle of the night, seeing the countless amounts of stars, and wondering what it all means. But something about being young, still free from most of the world and society's influence, back when you were carefree and curious, and in a strange way, everything makes more sense. Young Takezo sees the sky and feels this out-of-body experience, that he is no longer himself, but part of something that extends beyond the physical body. He is the sky. He is the universe. Momentarily borrowing a body in order to discover, to even be able to ask the question, why? What am I? And what is our purpose? And realizing the beauty and the miracle of even being able to ask those questions. Using the body to understand why we have been given a body. And it goes beyond spirituality or religion. Even science would agree to it. We are not in the universe, we are the universe. The atoms that make up our bodies exist both before and after we are even conscious enough to try to understand them. We are infinite. But as easy as this might be to comprehend as a child even, the more that we grow up, we further become detached from this fascination. Soon the pain, the struggles, and the desires of life on Earth begin to manifest within us, and we forget. Ego, pride, rage, all these things that, when executed properly, can be used to aid us, but also make it very easy to fall into a path of darkness. Musashi's quest to become the strongest under the sun resulted in the deaths of hundreds of men. The 70 Yoshiaka school swordsmen that attempted to assassinate Musashi as vengeance for their fallen resulted in a legendary bloodbath that, for all intents and purposes, gave Musashi that title he was looking for. But this abstract idea of being the strongest, it only exists within a person's perception. It's only a human construct that is impossible to quantify, and in the search for it, it causes nothing but more pain and more devastation. There will always be someone stronger. There will always be circumstances that can cause someone to falter, and the more Musashi attempts to prove himself, the more enemies he creates, and the more darkness that grows within him. The more panic about maintaining the title once you have it, the more desperation to prove it when you don't, the more death that he is willing to lay in his wake for these goals. The greater his reputation grows, the more others want to make a name for themselves by defeating him, and the more Musashi kills, the less he wants to engage, because what is the point of all this? But as he grows wiser, those younger and beneath him enter into the same phase that he was once in. The cycle of killing never stops because with each death, the spiral continues over and over and over again. With one person maintaining the title of strongest, another person wants it, and so on. My sword is one with heaven and earth, said by the old swordsman Master Yaguya, is a culmination of the youthful understanding of the universe and also the wisdoms of that trial and error, strength, and teachings. There is no such thing as invincible. This is just a human idea meant to satisfy our desires to be the best. It is trying to use the sword as a way to prove something rather than just using it, letting it flow from within you. His sword is one of heaven and earth because it's as if he doesn't decide how and when to use it. He has nothing to prove, no desire to be the strongest. Him using his sword is as if the universe is flowing through him. He is just the arm of the universe. He is within instinct, reaction, and protection, and nothing more. But here's the paradox is, how do you become strong without experience? Well, I think that is the struggle of the human existence. We are born open and free and accepting, acting without a care and purely on our natural instincts and without social conditioning or pressures or insecurities. We are just free. But as the pressures of the world and mankind, all that it's created weigh upon us, by growing up in harsh circumstances in an unfair, cruel world, or with the need to fight for survival, we begin to change. There's this process of trying to understand that opens up the gateway for self-destruction, and we can become so invested in who we think we want to be that we lose sight of who we are, that we are all the same. We are all the universe experiencing itself. We are all part of heaven and earth. But maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Maybe we are supposed to lose sight of it all. We are supposed to have an opportunity for that self-destruction. We are supposed to make mistakes. We're supposed to cause harm. We're supposed to fall into despair, to hurt others and be hurt ourselves. That part of this experience is to stray so far from the beginning that we must journey to find our way back to it. Kind of like the cycle of life and death itself. What happens before we are alive and what happens after we die. There's plenty of ideas out there, but it's almost like our journey is to end where we began, as part of the infinite. We must be pushed to our limits to realize what's important. Maybe it takes 22 years to learn that the thing that you wish to obtain doesn't exist. Or maybe it takes a lifetime. Or maybe you fully embrace the darkness and you never return from it. Or maybe you were always free-flowing, always of heaven and earth, and become that rare exception and inspiration for many others, opening others' eyes for the possibility of what life could be. Maybe all these paths have a role to play in this vast, complex scheme of it all, and maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Takuan's revelation that everything is preordained, but because of that, it makes us free, sounding like a complete contradiction, and yet it's not. You are free because you can make these choices, and whatever you choose is what's supposed to happen. Each path is perfectly decided, and when you embrace that heaven, you become free, all with our own individual paths that only we alone can really understand. And this is what makes it hard. It makes us lonely and isolated because no one's going to understand what we've been through or what our lives are like other than ourselves. But our path is just one leaf on a much larger tree containing more and more people's paths. Takuan said, if you are preoccupied with a single leaf, you miss the tree. And if you miss the tree, you miss the entire forest. But remember that the forest cannot exist without the trees and without the leaves. It cannot exist without you. Even if you are a single leaf, you are also the entire forest. You are completely unique, and yet you are part of it all. You are of heaven and of earth. You are infinite.